Greetings, ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to this subscriber replay courtesy of MajesticSpoon. And today he is going to be treating us with an outing in the Panzer II Luchs, Tier 4 German light tank. Now, this is actually quite a popular machine, and it occurs to me that apart from one or two games that I played in this thing way back when, I haven't really showed any games in it. So, yeah, here we go. Now, you may immediately notice that Majestic is using the stock turret rather than the fully upgraded turret. Maybe he's grinding this tank, or there is another explanation. The thing with the top turret is that it adds weight to your tank, and it traverses more slowly, if I remember correctly. So actually, some people still prefer to use the stock turret on this tank, even when they've got the top turret unlocked and upgraded, because the extra health boost you get is pretty marginal, especially when, you know, the Luchs gets scout matchmaking, so it can spend its life in tier 7 games some of the time. This A20 is not going to have a very good day, and Majestic uses the nice little 30 centimeter, that would be insane, 3 centimeter or 30 millimeter auto-loader with 30 average damage per shot and 95 penetration to execute that fellow. It's the same gun that you use on the Tier 3 tank, the Panzer II Aufs G, not to be confused with the Panzer II Aufs J, which I have thoughts about, but never mind. And I did actually show a replay of the Panzer II G a little while ago. It was me getting the ace tanker in it, I believe, on Mittengard. And it's also the same gun that you get on the Leopard at Tier 5. So you get to use this gun quite a lot. On the Panzer II G, obviously the penetration is the most impressive, but it gets a smaller magazine size and quite a long magazine reload. On the Leopard, it's looking a bit long in the tooth. I think you could fairly reasonably argue that the Luchs is probably the sweet spot for this gun. Anyway, Majestic has been trying to do a little bit of spotting toward the beginning of this game, but now that KV-1's pushed up, he really needs to get out of dodge and not get absolutely wrecked by that guy. Now you'll notice he is loading up some APCR, which gets 110 average penetration. It's not actually that much of a massive upgrade over the 95 you get with the armor piercing, but it will make his shots into this KV-1 more reliable. One burst. Notice he's doing these controlled bursts because he's not at point blank range. Sets the guy on fire, and he is dead. Switching back now to the armor piercing ammunition. So if you're going to carry a stock of APCR, if you look at the tanks on the enemy team, the tanks you want to use it against are the KV-1s. Possibly the Matilda, although I think you should be okay against the Tilly. But mainly the KV-1. So, that's kill number 2. 1 tier 4 and 1 tier 5 taken care of. Should be a little bit of assistance damage as well into the bargain. Now, he actually decides to load a clip of APCR here, presumably because he's decided to go hunting that Matilda. I'm not sure I would do that. The Matilda packs 370 HP, I believe. There we go. And the magazine on this gun, well, I don't think he's going to be able to take down a Matilda from full health. And I was about to say, and he doesn't have much support over here, but he does have a friendly base camping Matilda. So, hurrah for base campers. Hurrah indeed. Now the T-50 is heading towards the friendly base, although I imagine that AFK Matilda will probably have something to do about that. And Majestic is coming around, got this Matilda in the bum. There's 2 bursts, 3. 4th one bounces. And that's the magazine, so you can see he really doesn't have the magazine potential to go after this guy. Now, the friendly Matilda there actually manages to hit Majestic as he's going after this Matilda, and Majestic does eventually get the kill on the Matilda, but if the Matilda, it looked like he was probably a very new player, at a guess. If he weren't such a new player, he would have traversed his hull as well, and then Majestic could have been in quite a lot of trouble. As it was, it worked out for the best. And notice I just glossed over Majestic's encounter with a tree there. Oh look, I didn't, I just mentioned it. Oh well. Anyway, He's now found this Panzer Soufflé 4C. Now we can take a shot from this PZSFL, assuming the guy isn't packing high explosive, and he probably isn't. Or he may even have had the smaller gun. Looking at the traverse he managed to get on that, but either way, the shot that Majestic takes only takes out Majestic's tracks. Does make the mistake of driving in a straight line for a little while though. Enemy artillery misses their shot though, so it doesn't end up coming to bite him on the bum. And he's going hunting, loading another clip of APCR, almost certainly for that KV-1. He's not going to bother with the APCR for the artillery. And just coming over here, where is that guy? He was last spotted over toward where that Panzer 1C is now heading, but apparently he has not been idle in the interim. He has been using his engine, his WASD keys, as miraculous as it sounds, and he's gone over to the other side of the map, manages to nail the KV-1S, and it's worth pointing out this game is not won. A KV-1 is perfectly capable of carrying, especially when backed up by artillery. The Panzer 1C on the enemy team, on the friendly team, sorry, has absolutely no chance of penetrating this guy, which leaves the Matilda and Majestic in his Panzer II Luchs. So, Matilda puts one round in, Majestic is going after the bum. I would be careful to aim these shots. Now, thankfully, the auto-aim location on the rear of the KV-1 is toward the top of the engine deck, and the KV-1's armour is actually a bit thinner there, so it's actually not a bad place to go. But you can see that the first burst that Majestic put into this guy actually did very little damage indeed. Now Majestic is actually loading his final clip of APCR, although I'm not actually sure if this is a full magazine, because of course, while it says 6 shots and this thing loads 4, I believe each loading of that gun fires multiple rounds, and so as you can see, the 6 shots there is only actually enough to load 3 canisters worth. And so if Majestic had actually loaded an armor-piercing clip there, he might have been able to finish the KV-1 off. However, the KV-1 is also making the new player mistake of forgetting that he can traverse his hull at the same time. And so that means that Majestic is just able to carousel around this guy and execute him. Now, both he and the Matilda could have made Majestic's life a lot more difficult than they actually did, but there we go. Them's the breaks in Tier 5 games. Now, Majestic has not a full magazine here, and it's likely going to be a little while before he comes across a target, and so I would probably here recommend, or have recommended, reloading the magazine. It's something, a habit, I mean, the Luchs does have an appreciable reload time. The enemy Matilda is not happy. The Luchs does have an appreciable reload time, and the enemy artillery nukes the Panzer 1C, and so if you've watched my autoloader video, or any of my autoloader videos, you will hopefully be aware that if you've got an appreciable reload time, it is worth that bounce. It is worth reloading when you have the opportunity to do so, so that you always go into combat with a full magazine. If that artillery had been on full health, Majestic may not have killed him, and indeed Majestic bounced his first couple of shots off of that guy. Anyway, nonetheless, it ended up being quite a nice game in the Luchs. I need to rebuy this thing at some point, not only because it looks like a very fun machine, but also because I have not yet aced mine. I know, shock and awe. So I do need to rebuy this in order to do that. Anyway, let's go and see how well Majestic did in the end. So that was enough for an ace tanker for Majestic there in the Luchs, as well as fire for effect, bruiser, and of course a top gun, as he managed to secure 6 kills. 1,230 damage done, 6 kills, and 1,171 base experience puts Majestic very cleanly at the top of either team by experience done. And in terms of damage done, commiserations, I guess, to the enemy AMX artillery and the enemy KV-1, as they actually both did more damage than Majestic, although Majestic was a lower tiered machine. But he certainly outstripped the rest of his team when it comes to damage done. In fact, if you actually look at the team, the enemy artillery racked up more base experience than the than the rest of the team, if you ignore Majestic. 68 shots fired, of course, that is a magazine gun. 55 hits, 39 penetrations for that 1,230 damage. He did fire, and I should say about 400 assistance damage. Majestic did, of course, fire all his APCR rounds. Mostly they bounced. Sometimes I think he could have got away with armor piercing, but I understand him loading the APCR. So he did actually make a loss on that game of almost 20,000 credits, even running a premium account. It's not as if he was spamming gold everywhere, but he did fire some. And with a standard account, he actually would have lost almost 30,000 credits. But nonetheless, a very nice game there from Majestic, and it's good to see the Luchs has still got it, and as I say, I do need to rebuy mine. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my others, and or subscribe to my channel, and I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.